And time again, I tried to, cast it away and say, well, I'll be happy when. And I think that's common. People who come to me in my coaching and healing pages share that similar mindset that I too was in. I'll be happy when I'm farther along in my career. I'll be happy when this happens. I'll be happy when that happens. I kind of have to just get through this and then. But then we're always setting our sights outside of ourselves and always putting some kind of external validation out there or looking to something outside of us to fulfill us. And so it was really only once I had the courage to go within, to commit to my own healing and transformation and really surrender, that I was able to then take that next step.
Namaste. You're listening to the Savannah Podcast. Join us on an exploration of Eastern spirituality, yoga philosophy, and conscious living for the new age. This podcast is a production of SavannahSpirit.com, the best place to shop for unique clothing, spiritual handcrafted jewelry, healing gemstones, and fair trade gifts from the Far East. Now, here's your host, Brett Larkin.
Hello, Savannah family. Thank you so much for being here, for listening, and for all the love you give the show. Today, we are learning about the ancient spiritual practice of shamanism from Shamanic Energy Medicine Practitioner Olivia Weil. I'm so excited to share this with you. We cover what is shamanism. I was very confused about what it was. We talk about what is the medicine wheel and how can we use these tools for healing. Olivia guides us through in this podcast, which is so cool, each of the directions, south, west, north, and east, that make up the medicine wheel and each of their key components. You're going to learn about all of that. And she also shares her personal story, how she ticked all the boxes of traditional success as a lawyer, but how she still felt unfulfilled and unhappy. Olivia helps us understand how this ancient spiritual practice of shamanism is really a vehicle for change that's available to anyone looking for transformation. So if you've ever been curious about shamanism or energy medicine, you absolutely need to keep listening. Before we dive into today's episode, I am curious if you want to learn how to smudge. Savannah Spirit's Smudge Starter Set will help you get started with everything you need for a healing and cleansing smudge experience. The set on Savannah Spirit includes 1 lion paw shell, 2 small California white sage bundles, Desert Magic sage smudge bundle, cedar smudge bundle, smudge fan, and a Savannah incense burner stand. Since we talk a lot about creating sacred space with Olivia, I thought highlighting this smudge starter set so you can smudge at home and also create sacred space with some of the offerings that she's going to share with us also in Thursday's episode, I thought could be really helpful. And remember, you can use that discount code podcast30 for 30% off your first order. Now, a little bit more about Olivia before we dive in. She is a New York lawyer turned spiritual advisor, shamanic energy medicine practitioner, personal transformational coach, plant-based nutritionist, and author. She holds a postgraduate certification from Cornell University in plant-based nutrition, and she's passionate about transforming people's lives from a cellular level with raw foods, superfoods, superherbs, and cutting-edge health technologies. In the energy medicine space, which is what we're going to focus on today, she was trained by the Four Winds Society and shamans of the old indigenous medicine peoples of the high Andes. She works with individuals through her international healing practice, and I'm so excited to have her on the show today. Let's dive in to this week's episode. Olivia, thanks so much for being with us. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hi, Brett. Thank you. And to everyone at home, hi, and thank you for having me. Really honored to be here and really grateful.
I'm so excited because I've wanted to talk in depth with someone about shamanism and what it is and what it means for so long. And here you are, like this gift to me, who's going to open up and tell us a little bit about this. I think my first question, and I want to hear about your background as well and how you came to this work, but just to open, can you explain to us what a shaman is and where do they exist and live in the modern world? Because I hear that word, and I know, I'm sure for listeners at home too, the vision that comes to mind for me is like someone in the jungle wearing face paint or something like that, right? And I don't really know how it fits into perhaps my yoga practice, my daily practice. What is a shaman and what is shamanism according to you?
Beautiful. Well, thank you for your questions. And I love how you said that it kind of just all aligned. And so all in divine timing and orchestration, and the fact that we have this opportunity to co-create together. I can start, if you want, by a little bit of my background before diving into shamanism. If you want, my journey has really been over the last decade or so. And I was exposed to shamanism, gifts, and its set of beliefs, basically the reconnection to nature through my own healing and transformation. And oh gosh, it's been a journey over the last decade or so. But everything has really brought me to the medicine in one way or another. And I kept receiving this call from spirit. There was a longing deep inside of myself. And, you know, at the physical level, the visible world, I suffered, kind of experienced all these different things. I faced kind of, you know, addiction, PTSD, different traumas, little traumas, big traumas, failed relationships, what have you, all kinds of different calls. They were opportunities for healing. And for one reason or another along the way, a lot of times I cast them aside. And so those were some of my failures. And at the same time, so too was I experiencing successes. I, you know, graduated in college 3 years, I top of my class at law school, and went on to clerk for a federal judge, and then transitioned to private practice in Manhattan. And I felt like I had everything I was on. I felt like almost guilty for having these successes and still feel. And so for one reason or another, I ignored the call. I ignored the call from spirit and was seeking, kind of casting it aside, seeking for everything external and everything outside of myself. And it wasn't really until I finally surrendered, I committed to healing and transformation, and to really surrender and open myself up to shamanism, the gifts that it has for healing and transformation, wholeness and fulfillment. And when I did, Brett, the whole universe of co-creation took me by the hand and started open doors for me where there were only walls before. So shamanism is near and dear to my heart, and can't say enough about it. And at the same time, it's merely one permission slip. So I kind of define permission slips as these tools, techniques, and all of that. And it's one of infinite possibilities for any one of us use as a vehicle, a technology, or a map for this transformation and healing. And so to me, that's really what shamanism is. It's this map, this technology, a vehicle for change, but it's one of infinite possibilities that we can use. And really, it just depends on the individual. Whatever the individual is feeling, does it resonate with you?
I like how you're talking about it as a vehicle for change, because I know for me and others, once we talk about shamanism, we get really focused on like, well, who is the shaman, right? And that's why there's all these different images that get conjured up. But what you're saying, or what I feel like I'm hearing from you, is that this is really just a modality, just like yoga or meditation is a modality. Shamanism is this vehicle for transformation that someone can choose to explore. Am I understanding that correctly?
Absolutely. So shamanism has been called by anthropologists the most ancient spiritual practice. And it's unique because there are no scriptures, there's no dogma, there's really nothing in that regard. There's a map, the medicine wheel, and it's the hero's journey, what Joseph Campbell calls the hero's journey, that each and every one of us take. And actually all of us are, whether consciously or unconsciously, we're actually all on that medicine wheel, that hero's journey, whether we know it or not. And so that's kind of one of the questions that I get asked a lot. Why walk the medicine wheel? Why shamanism? Why commit to this vehicle for change and healing and transformation? And it's the answer, I guess, in short, is because we're kind of on it anyways. And so if we're unconsciously creating circumstances in our life that are negative or that we don't prefer, then we can use this map, this vehicle, this technology for change to create circumstances in our life that we do prefer, to be conscious co-creators and co-creatresses of our own dreams and dream our worlds into being.
Can you describe for the listeners the medicine wheel? And we were so fortunate to have a really amazing guest who came and talked us through the hero's journey. So I feel like I can link up his podcast episode below yours. So those of you who are listening, if you want to understand really what that is, what is Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, we have a whole episode on that. And the basic is it's like Star Wars, right? Luke Skywalker goes through the hero's journey as part of that movie. But it's really what Olivia's saying. We're all going through it at some level. Tell us a little bit more about the medicine wheel so people can visualize what that is.
Absolutely. So from a visual perspective, you can visualize right now a circle and circles and mandalas and this circle of life, circle of co-creation. They've been used for thousands of years by ancient peoples for healing and transformation. So the Egyptians, all kinds of different ancient cultures have been peoples of the circle. And so you can visualize that. And then in the middle, visualizing the four cardinal directions. So we start in the south, and then west, north, and east, of course. And so that's the visual of it. And I recently wrote an article for Savannah East, actually, that describes a little bit about the medicine wheel. And so I would encourage anyone who kind of is a more visual person to go and check that out. Basically, like I was saying about shamanism, the medicine wheel is that map. It's that technology. And we can dance among the directions and derive healing and medicine from each one of the directions. So the work of the South is all about shedding what no longer serves us, releasing what no longer serves us, and allowing all of what we are not to fall away. The South is represented by serpent energy, that kundalini energy. Serpent medicine teaches us how to walk in beauty and find beauty in everything that we're doing, and really how to be and live belly to belly with Mother Earth. In the West, Mother Sister Jaguar.
Hold on, I just want to stop you for 1 second, Olivia. Sorry, because I love Kundalini yoga, and it's a huge passion of mine. So I think it's really cool you're saying. So the South is all about. I just want to paraphrase. Getting belly to belly with the earth, serpent kundalini energy. You said something about serpent medicine. Can you expand on just what you mean by that? Because I think listeners might be wondering, like, what is, I'm like, is it medicine from an actual serpent? Or are we talking more about like doing these practices as medicine? What did you mean by that?
Sure. The way that I use kind of the term and embodiment of medicine. So we all have personal medicine, and a lot of times in our healing work and our transformation work, we transform, we alchemize our wounds into our personal medicine, our personal power, our expression and co-creation. And shamans really believe, they say that we are learning from everyone, every bird, every rock, every stone, everything. And they mean everything. So everyone and everything are our mirrors. So when I say serpent medicine, it's what is that serpent archetype bring? There are all these archetypes in the world, in our consciously and in the collective unconscious also. And these archetypes are these archetypal forces that represent certain qualities, attributes, and things like that. And so serpent energy, when I say medicine, that's like, what is serpent? What can we learn from serpent? What is serpent teaching us? So serpent is the archetype of the South. And in the West, it's jaguar. In the North, it's hummingbird. And in the East, it's eagle or condor.
Oh, very cool. All right. Well, I want to hear about each of the directions now, and that's really, really helpful to know. I love this idea of learning from everything, seeing everything as your teacher. That's something that I know in the Yoga Sutras is also a theme, right? Like everything you encounter has a lesson for you, is mirroring back something that you can learn, something that you can use to grow. So I really love that idea. And so you were saying we have the serpent in the South, and then tell us about the West, jaguar.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the South, we have serpent, and we're shedding and releasing all that no longer serves us. And the key shamanic process there is illumination. And so you can see that each direction kind of has components. And so that's the energy medicine, which we can delve into in a little bit. And that illumination is the key shamanic process there in the South. In the West, represented by jaguar medicine, so Mother Sister Jaguar, it's all about fearlessness and learning the ways of the luminous warrior. And the luminous warrior stands impeccably in her truth, and she has the courage to say what needs to be said. So the West is about looking at the roles that we play, all of the hats that we wear in life, mother, sister, daughter, coworker, everything that we are and we are not, kind of learning how to be all of those hats and step into those roles when we need them, and yet also learning and coming to the realization that we're really none of them, that that's not our true eternal nature, which is that pure love, that unique energy signature. And Jaguar knows those maps, the ways kind of beyond death. And so that's really what the West is about, fearlessness, having the courage to say what needs to be said. And the key shamanic process in the West is extraction work, and that's from an energy medicine perspective. So extraction of intrusive energies, energies that are not ours, basically. In the North, represented by hummingbird, it's one of the most beautiful directions. It's all about the sweet nectar of life. So from hummingbird, we learn the great journeyer, small, tiny bird, as you know, and makes great journey all the way down from North America to South America. Doesn't really know how or why or when. It just knows intuitively all of those things. And it just goes. It just finds the nectar. And that's all about aligning with joy, aligning with the natural frequencies of the universe. And the key shamanic process in the North is soul retrieval. When we have traumas, and by now, most all of us have had some kind of traumas, big traumas, little traumas. Life has happened to us. And so soul retrieval is that process where we go and we retrieve any lost soul parts that may have tethered and gone away to a safe place when we were experiencing something really significant and painful in our lives. And so it's about integrating those healed pieces back into the body, back into the physical body, so that we can really become whole again. Soul retrieval can't really take place until the container or the vessel, so each and every one of us, has gone through the series of the earlier directions and the earlier medicines. So with some of the illuminations and the extraction from the South and the West to really build a tight, a clear container, and then to welcome those healed pieces back in. So that's the North, hummingbird medicine, reconnecting us to our epic soul's journey and reminding us that every step that we take is sacred. The East is all about destiny and visionary selves. So ego medicine wings and teaches us how to fly. And ego medicine is all about taking us to the tippy tops of mountains that we would only dare to dream of. So seeing the bigger picture with clarity and yet still seeing the finest, tiniest detail. And so all about reconnecting to our visionary selves and our destinies. And the key shamanic process there is destiny retrieval. And that's really where the practitioner can anchor in future possibilities for a client, perhaps a reality or a future that is free of disease or bad relationships or some kind of transformation. And when we anchor that in and put our awareness on it, then we can shift the momentum tunnel of people's lives to not only what is probable, but also what is possible, even no matter how slim of a possibility there is, and really anchoring that in for someone. So overall, that's the medicine wheel, the 4 cardinal directions. And you can dance among all of the directions at once, a map. So there's no right, wrong, or indifferent, but that's the general map, and that's the general kind of route that is taken. But you're always pulling from different areas depending on the individual and depending on the circumstances. And it's a guiding a compass, I guess, if you will.
So Olivia, I'm visualizing you as this incredible high-powered lawyer in New York City. How did you find this work?
Sure. So I was speaking to that a little bit earlier, and I was in New York and kind of felt like I had all these successes and had checked off all of these boxes on my personal to-do list, all of those kind of accomplishments I was focused on achieving. Had a cozy apartment on the Upper East Side. I had, some money in the bank. I had great friends. I kind of had picture perfect life, at least from the outside looking in. And I was still not happy. I was unfulfilled. Many times I felt unworthy, unlovable, lonely, what have you. I was unfulfilled. And I thought to myself, there must be more. There must be more. So too did I sometimes feel guilty for even feeling that way, for having these successes and yet still feeling this longing inside of my soul. And time again, I tried to, cast it away and say, well, I'll be happy when. And I think that's common. People who come to me in my coaching and healing practice I think, share that similar mindset that I too was in. I'll be happy when I'm farther along in my career. I'll be happy when this happens. I'll be happy when that happens. I kind of have to just get through this and then. But then we're always setting our sights outside of ourselves and always putting some kind of external validation out there or looking to something outside of us to fulfill us. And so it was really only once I had the courage to go within, to commit to my own healing and transformation and really surrender, that I was able to then take that next step. And so it was a journey. It wasn't just like one day, this aha moment. I was exposed to the medicine and to shamanism and to different mentors and classes. And at the same time, I was into yoga and meditation. And so it wasn't just one day, one aha moment. It was a lot of different things along the way. But it wasn't really until I finally surrendered that I committed to transformation for myself.
So interesting. As you know, so many of our listeners have a yoga and meditation practice, and I'm wondering how this work with what you've described with the medicine wheel and shamanism can integrate or interweave, I guess maybe is the right word, with a yoga or meditation practice that they might already have at home. How does one begin working with these directions?
Yeah, absolutely. So it all integrates pretty seamlessly. And, in energy medicine, you're working with the chakras, the subtle energy bodies, and the energy systems in the body. And it's really all about that healing of our mind, body, soul complexes. And what works for some people, won't work for others. Things will resonate with some people and for some it won't. What's so beautiful, especially about kind of this day and age that we're in, is there's so much information out there and there's so many possibilities. And we're so connected and tuned into all of these different practices that they're all permission slips. So, you can use them together, you can not use them, accept them, reject them. And it is so individualized based on what resonates with you. Just trying that, going to those kind of shamanic breathwork journeys, getting a taste of it. So really rising in popularity now. And so these days you can kind of dip your toe in the waters, and if it resonates with you, whether that's through reading articles or online or joining a class, if you're in New York or Manhattan, New York Open Center or things like that, you can, just like you would go to a yoga or a meditation class, you can kind of dip in and see whether that resonates with you as well.
And if someone goes to one of these classes, because I know some people listening might not have access, but what could they expect? For example, even if there's many different styles of yoga and meditation, I have a pretty clear expectation when I go to a yoga class that there'll be a mat involved, I'll do some physical postures, I'll link breath and movement, same when I sit to meditate. But I'm wondering when I go to something, whether it's a, shamanic class or activation, what does that look like? Can you kind of describe it for listeners when you come in the room? Are we bringing our yoga mat? Are we dancing? Are, we drumming? What does it look like?
Sure. So every practitioner is different and every class is different. And there are facets of shamanism that are really, that are derived from all different kinds of things. So I'm not sure I can totally describe what each and every one of those would look like, but it would look really similar in a lot of ways to what you're describing about a yoga or a meditation class. So let's take a shamanic drum circle, and there would be drums and this calling in of all the directions and opening sacred space and using the breath and aligning your intentions with other people in the group, focusing on the breath, that beautiful vehicle for altered states of consciousness. And very similar to any kind of shamanic group healing or any kind of shamanic breath work, a journey work. So the shamanic journey or guided meditation is really similar to a meditation. It's utilizing the breath to attain altered states of consciousness and kind of walk into these other realms, these other spirit realms, whether that be maybe the underworld or this middle world, and entering this dreamlike state. So shamans say that we're dreaming our worlds into being, and the breath is really the vehicle to get there.
Thanks. That's really helpful. And then this may seem like a silly question, but is the person who's leading this class or facilitating this experience, guiding people through the meditation, that is the shaman? right?
Could be. There's an infinite number of classes. And so the Shamanic Energy Medicine Practitioner or a Shaman depends on where you go and who you see. But many of them are trained. For example, I was trained by the Four Winds Society and under Dr. Alberto Viodo and Marcela Lobos. And their practice is international, but also their home base is in southern Chile. And so the Four Winds trains energy medicine practitioners like myself. And so many times if you go to a healer, that's one of the things that you can expect is for them to bring shamanism through them as that vehicle. So to further answer your questions, whether it's a group class or an individual healing session, one of the things that you can expect in a more private session, an individual one-on-one session, goes back to those key shamanic processes that I was talking about. So if you come to a healer, for example, or a shamanic energy medicine practitioner, those are the key processes that they'll go through. So illumination, extraction, soul retrieval, destiny retrieval. That's kind of the wheelhouse that they work within. And illumination is the key shamanic process for clearing and combusting the negative energies that adhere to our chakra walls. Just like the digestive system, when we eat, our digestive system clears out what we eat and processes it. The chakras are the vortices of energy that are processing, just like the digestive system would, those negative energies. And so just like we would need to do a juice detox or or a water fast or something of that nature, when we go to see a shamanic energy medicine practitioner, that illumination, that process of illumination clears and combusts the negative energies that adhere to the chakra walls. And so you're then harmonizing all of the chakras and clearing them so that you feel more fulfilled, more relaxed, more integrated, more aligned with your true eternal nature.
Beautiful. Olivia and I are going to go much, much deeper into this topic of energy medicine as it relates to shamanism and what we've talked about so far in Thursday's episode. So make sure to tune in on Thursday, and I would love to hear your thoughts, comments, and insights on everything we've learned so far. Did you know about the medicine wheel? Was it fun and interesting for you to see how Olivia described it for us? Let me know in our private Facebook group, savannahspirit.com/group will redirect you there where I can approve you as a member. And as always, your ratings and reviews here on iTunes mean the world to me. They help get this show in front of more people looking to transform their life through yoga and meditation. So if you haven't yet taken time to give a review, please consider doing that today. We'll pick up with our conversation with Olivia on Thursday. For now, I'm sending you so much love. From my heart to yours, namaste.
You've been listening to the Savannah Podcast. To find out more about Savannah, go to savannahspirit.com or follow Savannah on Facebook at facebook.com/Savannah Spirit. For daily inspiration, check out our blog at savannaeast.com. Be sure to join us next week for a new episode, and thank you for listening to the Savannah Podcast.